to TAKEdown MMA. I'm Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine. This is Albert Rosales of Grinders Fitness. Let's get right into it. Cris Cyborg defended her 145-pound belt, or should we just call it the Cyborg belt, last night at UFC222 against Yana Kunitskaya. There's a way to say it properly.
We'll just call her Yana.
Yeah, Yana. I'm going to get to the bottom of it, but Yana coming up in weight, former Invicta Bantamweight champion, is now set with a UFC contract that all of her fights will be at 135. Cris Cyborg got the job done. 1 round is all it took, less than a round. What did you think? What were your thoughts? Were you surprised at anything that Yana could do? Were you surprised at any improvements that Cyborg showed?
Well, let's be honest. Obviously, Kunitskaya is coming up in weight, so we knew that was going to be an issue for her. I think what I took the most out of this fight was I was really impressed with how Cyborg has evolved her game. Okay, if you go back and look, even back in the Strikeforce days when she fought Gina Carano, she almost had that Vanderlei shoot box style where she's just coming out and she's going to try and kill you in 2 seconds. Very wild, just aggressive striking. And now you see her kind of picking and choosing where she wants to strike. She doesn't rush things. She's very patient in her attacks, very methodical. Kunitskaya, had made mention about not liking Cyborg's power, that she didn't think she really had all that power. And
wasn't respecting it.
Right, and the first time she actually landed clean, that was pretty much the beginning of the end.
Which was in the first 10 seconds of the fight.
Right, and it's, it's tough because there's not enough high-level talent in that 145 division to give Cyborg a push, and it kind of stinks. Is she going to be remembered as the 145er that had nobody to fight? Is that going to be what she's remembered as opposed to being remembered as one of the greatest female fighters of all time? You can go, even if you look at boxing, you go through it and say, well, you could say, well, Mike Tyson was good, but really there was nobody to fight back then, or however you want to look at it. It kind of bothers me that she's not quite getting the credit that she deserves because she's fighting all these 135ers. That's no fault of her own. There's just not enough high-level talent. Give me some names that you think could actually hang with Cyborg in the 145 division. You've got Julia Budd, who's a tough girl, and she's a legitimate 145er, but she's in Bellator.
Megan Anderson was the one that they're trying to, that's the one that they're trying to dress up next, but way too early.
I'm a fan of hers. I think she's got a ton of talent, and I think she's going to be a very, very good fighter. But as far as where her career's at right now, I still believe it's a little bit early for her. But I saw on Instagram last night she was saying that she's ready.
Maybe she saw some holes last night.
I don't know, man.
Maybe she saw Yana take the back of Cyborg for a split second. It was for literally a split second, but she got there. Right. She picked an ankle when I thought she was shelling up to be finished in the first 20 seconds. There were some things where I think we could probably credit it to maybe Cyborg being caught off guard or surprised, but in the short amount of time that we saw the fight, and with not a ton of success, we did see Yana be able to I hate to use the word exposed because she got finished in the first round, but she did show some things that maybe future opponents can highlight against Cyborg going forward.
Well, to me, the scary part was Cyborg smiling in the clinch after she wrestled back up after the ankle pick. She gets back to her feet. Yana's kind of trying to take her back a little bit. They're in a little scramble on the cage, and the entire time, if you watch Cyborg's face, she's smiling like she was genuinely having fun with it. I personally think the ankle pick surprised her, caught her off guard a little bit, and I kind of feel like that's what Cyborg was smiling about. She was like, oh, I see, this is going to be like this. But Cyborg is Cyborg. She's just going to go through and be a Terminator and just march through what everybody else does, and as I just don't see too many other challenges for her. Now they're talking about Amanda Nunes fighting Cyborg.
Yeah.
Dana White mentioned it last night that would be the next fight, for Cyborg. As far as the striking goes, I think Amanda's the more technical striker of the two, and she does hit hard too. So I feel like that presents some challenges for Cyborg, but that size difference is not going to be nice, you know. And Amanda's not small by any means, you know. She's a big girl too, but I just don't see that going too well either.
As much as I like the fight, I have a couple problems with that fight, Nunez Cyborg. Going back to what you were talking about, how she might not get the credit and how she's remembered, her legacy of fighting all 135ers. I think this kind of lies on the back of the UFC brass too. You got to kind of put it on them a little bit. They haven't tried. I think your normal UFC fan would be more into like the reign of Cyborg if there were some active 145-pound non-title fights happening at some point in the UFC. Like, there's no number one contender fights. It's either somebody coming up from 35 or bringing someone out that has never even fought in the UFC before, or has fought in Tanya Evinger and then left and then came back again, or like with Yana last night, that being her first time going from small club show, you know, no offense to Invicta, but smaller to the main card, the main event of this pay-per-view. I think it lies on their back for not really actively trying, even if they're not up to par. Create the division, give us something else to watch in that division to get excited about. We're just drawing names and picking names out of a hat. And my second issue with the fight with Nunez is the 135-pound division in women's MMA was the maker for women's MMA. Fair?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the division of Ronda Rousey, Miesha Tate, Gina Carano, all these people create, you know, got the wheels in motion for women's MMA. And I don't want to see them sacrifice that without having a division at 145. So you send your champion up, who is dominant, who is on a win streak, who does have a victory over Ronda Rousey, who has beat Valentina twice, who you can kind of, you know, she's a star of LGBTQ community, somebody you can really put on a platform and push. You're going to send her up there, and what if she loses? Because most likely she will. What do you do then?
But the problem with... so two issues with that, okay? The first problem addressing the 145 division, you can't create a division and bring in girls just to have fights, because then what you're basically doing is you're watering down everything. You know, so you bring in these 145ers who have no business being in the UFC, and what you're going to put out there is a garbage product. Okay, so you're putting 145ers out there who aren't ready to be on the big show yet. You know, so what you're going to see is a lot of brawling. It's going to be a very sloppy product.
Do you think Yana was ready for the big show? Because otherwise,
I think at 135 she does. I think at 135 she does.
Well,
she's a legitimate fighter. But at 145, no. But then again, why was this fight put together? It was a late notice fight.
They're trying to
save the show. Absolutely. Right. So, you know, you can kind of understand why they did that. Right or wrong, it doesn't matter, but that's their thinking behind it. So if you bring up all these 145ers, because I know I've watched some of these 145ers fighting in Invicta, and that's not people I want to see in the UFC. And, you know, no offense to them, because they're young in their career, and they're still learning, and they're still trying to go places. So, you know, in time, I'm sure we'll start to see that. But the problem is now is people are impatient. So they want it now. Bring those 145ers up. They're not ready yet. All you're going to see is what Cyborg would have been doing to these 145ers in Invicta had she not been signed by the UFC. Okay, so that's a problem I have with that. Now, as far as Amanda Nunez goes, she's not somebody the UFC really pushes anyways.
And they should.
So as far as what I can see, it kind of looks like they'd be willing to sacrifice Amanda Nunez for the big money that they're going to get out of that show. Everybody wants to see that fight. They think it's going to be a good fight. You know, so as far as she goes, I think they're okay with it. Personally, I would rather have Amanda Nunez stay back, fight Raquel Pennington, go Raquel. I think Raquel wins that fight, and then we move on from there, you know. But I wouldn't want to see Raquel Pennington fight Cyborg either. So where do you go next?
Remove Amanda Nunez from the picture, just from how you feel that the UFC promotes her. What does it do to the division if now Amanda Nunes and Holly Holm. Your past 2 out of 3 champions, you know, have now been beaten, dismantled by Cris Cyborg.
Right, but they're not beat at 135, so I don't feel like it hurts what they're doing.
You don't think the eye of the beholder steps back and is like, well, you go up 10 pounds and you can't compete?
Not really, because
or you're
it's
lucky
Cyborg.
that Cyborg can't get down to 135.
I don't think so. I would rather see, like, if you're going to do these kind of fights, which I'm totally against, but if you're going to do these kind of fights, then I would rather see that than see somebody like Conor McGregor who wins a title and never defends that title ever.
Right.
You know, these are people going up for one fight and then they're coming back down to their original weight class. So as long as it's not in the weight class, I'm okay with it. Like, it, you know, it is what it is.
Right on. Well, we'll see what they have in store. It's sounding like Nunes versus Cyborg. That's what Dana said last night, and they're trying to maybe aim it towards UFC Brazil in Rio. How crazy would that be?
That would be a mess.
I mean, screaming you're gonna die, but coming who knows who's getting screamed at that one. It would be intense. You never see them really put up, you know, the 2 Brazilians in Brazil.
Right.
It's been very rare. I think it would be a cool one and a perfect one to do it with a super fight. We'll see. That's going to do it for segment 2. Evan Herzog of the Fight Magazine, Albert Rosales of Grinders Fitness, Takedown MMA on ibtv.us and Roku TV. Thanks for joining us.